It says WNBA referees officiate professional women's basketball games and are selected through a process that starts at the high school level. We're going to skip college because the college referees, but it started at the high school level, bro. WNBA officiating is overseen by Monty McCutcheon as head of officiating, and Sue Bullock as head of performance and development. So those are the two people, Monty and Sue, that's over the WNBA referees. Now, with that being said, we got to talk about their money because I'm a type of guy, I like to follow the bag. Where is the bag? Now, the salaries can range from $30,000 to $60,000 annually, depending on experience, and pay per game can range from $425 to $1,000 per game.
WNBA has officially outdone itself. Just when you thought it couldn't sink any lower, boom, it did. Fans are losing their minds. And honestly, who can blame them? Rumor has it there's a juicy secret brewing behind the scenes. The league's referees are now under investigation for corruption. But here's the insane twist. They've somehow dragged Caitlin Clark into the mess. Yes, the same player who's been slammed to the floor all season without a single whistle. How do you go from protecting your stars to throwing them under the bus? It's pure chaos. Absolutely unreal. After months of ignoring dirty plays and laughable officiating, the WNBA suddenly wants to act serious. And yet Caitlin Clark's name is still right in the middle of it.
Be the best, baby. And I'm gonna be the best when I break down the data because this is a bunch of BS, man. It said WNBA data. Data doesn't show link between injuries and missed calls. So this article was released at the conclusion of the season, man, the regular season. It says, as WNBA officials face renewed criticism from coaches and players pointed at the level of physicality throughout the season, league sources told ESPN that their data does not show any correlation between the RAS.
According to multiple
According to multiple insiders, the WNBA just kicked off a so-called formal internal review over what they are calling inconsistencies in officiating integrity. Sounds fancy, right? But here's the real kicker. That review quietly includes player influence and behavioral impact. Translation, they're actually checking if Caitlin Clark had anything to do with the chaos. Yes, you heard that right. Instead of blaming the referees for missing calls and letting players get body slammed like it's the NFL, the league is somehow suggesting their biggest star might be part of the problem. Classic WNBA logic. When in doubt, blame the face of your own success.
Very good income. And I feel like when they see players like Caitlin, see players like Sophie, and all of the other big name players making massive, massive money, and everybody know they hate their guts. Well, not massive money like in the W sense, but more than them. They make more than them, bro. They make more than them. They might feel a type of way. How would you feel wake up going to work every day knowing that these ladies make more than me?
Let's rewind for a second.
Let's hit rewind for a sec, because fans have been screaming about this all season. Biased refs, missed fouls, and non-stop physical targeting, especially toward Caitlin Clark. Everyone saw it, everyone talked about it, and what did the WNBA do? The usual. Deny, deflect, and disappear until the outrage cools off. But now that fans are demanding a real investigation, the league suddenly pretends to care. Just not in the way anyone expected. Instead of checking their refs, they've decided to expand the scope to include player conduct and interaction impact. Translation, they're dragging Caitlin Clark into it to cover their own mess. And fans, they're absolutely furious. Because here's the truth. Caitlin Clark didn't create this disaster, she exposed it. Every time she got hacked driving to the basket with no whistle, fans saw it. Every time she stared down a clueless ref after another blown call, social media went nuclear. Her name trended not because of drama, but because people were finally witnessing how broken the system really is. But now that the spotlight's too hot, Kathy Engelbert and her team are trying to rewrite the story. Instead of admitting the refs are a joke, they're acting like Caitlin Clark's composure is the problem. Meanwhile, the so-called professional refs, the same ones making $30 grand a year to control $1 million games, keep flipping calls like they're tossing a coin.
Accusations that officiating errors have led to more injuries were unfounded, league sources told ESPN.
And the WNBA seriously
actually wants fans to believe these refs are totally unbiased? Please, let's get real for a second. When you're paying officials barely enough to survive in cities like New York or Chicago, you're not building a professional league. You're running a side hustle. Underpaid, undertrained, and completely overworked refs are a recipe for disaster. Bad calls? Guaranteed. Game manipulation out of frustration or favoritism? Wouldn't be shocking. But of course, instead of owning up, the league's latest strategy is simple. Just blame Caitlin Clark. Honestly, it's almost impressive how far the WNBA will go to dodge accountability. Fans have had enough. They're calling this whole scandal Refgate, demanding every ounce of proof. The data, the audio, the reports, all of it. They want to know exactly how many bad calls happened, how many complaints got ignored, and how often the league just looked the other way. But what does the WNBA do instead? Leak that Caitlin Clark might be tied to the investigation. Classic move from a desperate commissioner. And let's be honest, Cathy Engelbert has been under fire for months. The players don't trust her, the owners don't trust her, and at this point, neither do the fans. And fans straight up boo Cathy Engelbert every time she shows up to hand out a trophy. That's how bad it's gotten. Now, with this referee scandal exploding, she's doing what every bad leader does best, tossing someone else under the bus. And who better to sacrifice than the league's biggest name, Caitlin Clark. But here's the twist. The plan's already backfiring. Fans aren't buying it for a second. Social media is absolutely torching the WNBA for its hypocrisy. One viral post nailed it perfectly. So the refs can ruin games, injure players, and ignore fouls. But Caitlin Clark's the problem? Exactly. This is the same league that let her get body checked like it was a hockey match, then called her too emotional for reacting. The same league that brushed off obvious targeting and claimed she wasn't being treated differently. And now suddenly she's under investigation for influencing games? You couldn't write a darker comedy if you tried. The craziest part? This all started when ESPN and league sources released data claiming there's no connection between officiating errors and player injuries. After a season full of torn ligaments, concussions, and bruised ribs, they expect us to believe the refs had nothing to do with that. Meanwhile, fans can literally pull up highlight reels proving every bit of it. There are literally clips showing bad officiating, leading straight to injuries, but apparently Cathy Engelbert and her so-called analytics team didn't see those. So the WNBA decided to audit the referees, and wow, what a joke that process is. They claim refs get reviewed mid-season and again at year's end, but here's the punchline. Only a pattern of mistakes brings consequences. One bad call? No problem. 10? Maybe a chat. 20? Congrats, you're still reffing the playoffs. It's a system built to fail. And who's been the poster child of that failure all season? Caitlin Clark. So when the public outrage finally hit a boiling point, the WNBA's genius move was to spin the story. Now the investigation magically includes players like Caitlin Clark, as if she's part of some deep conspiracy against officials. That's what happens when leadership cares more about saving face than serving justice. You'd think a league desperate for credibility would protect its stars, not toss them under the bus. Even players who usually stay quiet are reportedly furious. One insider said locker rooms across the league are heated, with veterans calling the situation disrespectful and tone-deaf, because everyone knows if the league can drag Caitlin Clark into an investigation like this, no player is safe. Meanwhile, the referees, still untouched. No suspensions, no accountability, just a few boring best practices meetings, whatever that means. And let's not forget, this isn't the first time fans demanded oversight. Last season had the same complaints: bias, inconsistency, chaos, and the league shrugged it off. Now it's worse because this time the player being targeted has global reach, and her fans are relentless. They're tagging ESPN, writing open letters, even calling for federal oversight. Yes, that's how wild it's gotten. Fans want audits, receipts, and full accountability. And honestly, they're right. The league's credibility is in the gutter. You can't let your biggest star get slammed every week while refs treat the game like a coin toss and then pretend everything's fine. If this investigation doesn't lead to real change, the backlash is going to get brutal and fast. Even sponsors are starting to take notice. Some have quietly voiced concern about how the league is handling its image, because when words like corruption and investigation start showing up next to your brand, that's bad business, and it's about to get even messier. Insiders claim this review might expose more than just bad refereeing. We're talking internal leaks, favoritism from league executives, and even possible tampering in how refs are assigned to games. If any of that's true, the WNBA could be facing a full-blown scandal it won't be able to contain. But hey, maybe Kathy Engelbert will just smile through another one of her everything's fine interviews, and because nothing screams leadership like pretending the house isn't on fire. Let's be honest, this whole thing reeks of panic. The league is desperately trying to look in control when it's been chaos all season. And now they're treating Caitlin Clark